I went to Europe to do my spaghetti western, and before I left, I'd done a series of commercials for Nestle's Quick,
Welcome back to Hollywood Bulletin.
in which I played a spoof on James Bond, Captain Quick.
Today, we take you deep inside one of television's most colorful, chaotic, and scandal-filled chapters, the rise, glory, and sudden fall of the 1960s Batman series, a show that didn't just entertain millions, but also sparked cultural battles, hid shocking secrets, and left behind lost treasures that would remain buried for more than half a century. What you are about to hear is more than a history lesson. It's a story of fame, controversy, and unbelievable behind-the-scenes drama. So make sure you watch till the very end, because there are twists here that will change how you think about Adam West, Bert Ward, and the legend of Batman forever. Before Adam West ever stepped into the cape and cowl, he was already catching the attention of producers in the most unexpected way. He had just finished filming a series of Nestle's Quick commercials where he played a parody of James Bond called Captain Quick, a talent that would soon become his superpower. But long before his casting, Batman's fate on television was hanging by a thread. In 1954, Ed Graham Productions secured the rights to the Caped Crusader with plans for a serious, straightforward Saturday morning adventure show. This version would have been nothing like the one we remember. No camp, no wild costumes, no pop art sound effects. Their top choice for Batman was NFL linebacker Mike Henry, who would later play Tarzan. CBS was ready to sign the deal, but weeks of negotiations dragged on until the entire project collapsed. If it had gone through, Batman might have been just another children's program lost in TV history. Then, fate stepped in the form of a party at Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion in Chicago. Hefner decided to screen all 15 episodes of the old 1943 Batman serial. What started as a casual nostalgia night turned into a raucous, interactive experience. Celebrities and socialites came dressed up, shouting at the screen, booing the villains, and cheering Batman's victories. News outlets picked up on the wild atmosphere, and suddenly, Batman was trendy again. This single event proved that audiences were ready for a bold, over-the-top version of the character. Columbia Pictures seized the opportunity, recutting the old serial into a 4.5-hour film called An Evening with Batman and Robin. It premiered at the Playboy Theater and sold out immediately. Lines stretched around the block, fans came in costume, and theaters sold concessions like never before. ABC took notice. The numbers were impossible to ignore. Batman could be huge. Enter Yale Udolph, a young ABC executive and lifelong Batman fan. After witnessing the excitement in Chicago, Udolph began pitching the idea of a Batman show at every meeting, even yelling, "We ought to do Batman!" at his bosses. They laughed him off, but Udolph refused to quit. He envisioned a stylish series that combined James Bond flair with the spy adventures of the Man from U.N.C.L.E. Eventually, ABC agreed, and William Dozier was brought on as producer in 1966. Dozier had never read a comic book before, but when he finally picked up a few Batman issues, he was shocked. Stories about Batman surfing against the Joker and gadgets like shark-repellent bat spray convinced him there was no way to take this seriously. His solution? Embrace the absurdity. He decided to make the series a campy, self-aware comedy, full of exaggerated villains, bright costumes, and pow and bam flashing across the screen. Casting came down to 2 screen tests, one with Lyle Wagner as Batman and Peter Diel as Robin, and another with Adam West and Bert Ward. Wagner was the established star, but Adam and Ward brought an undeniable spark, the perfect mix of seriousness and ridiculousness. West signed his contract on September 21, 1965, beating out bigger names simply because he could make Batman both heroic and hilarious. Bert Ward, just 20 years old, looked young enough to pass for a high schooler, and his athleticism convinced audiences he was Robin. But behind the scenes, Bert's commitment to doing his own stunts landed him in the hospital 4 times in his first 5 days on set. Meanwhile, veteran actors like Alan Napier as Alfred and Neil Hamilton as Commissioner Gordon grounded the show with gravitas, giving the wild comedy a solid core. But there was trouble lurking in the shadows. Back in 1954, psychiatrist Frederick Wortham had accused Batman Comics of promoting a homosexual subtext between Batman and Robin. His claims lingered for years, and by the 1960s, producers still feared the rumor could hurt the show's family-friendly image. When whispers resurfaced, ABC rewrote scripts to have Batman openly express interest in women, even inserting a scene where Batman tells Robin his attraction to female villains was part of the oncoming thrusts of manhood. It was clumsy, but calculated to silence critics. They even launched a PR campaign to showcase Adam West and Bert Ward as macho men, posing for photos and karate stances, talking about marriage, even holding children in publicity shoots. The effort worked for a while, but nothing could stop the show's rapid burnout. Batman premiered in January 1966 to 14 million homes, dominating 42% of the audience. By March, ratings were slipping, and by that summer, the Batmania craze had already peaked. The 1966 Batman movie was supposed to save the franchise, but it flopped financially. Merchandise was still selling, but the viewership was gone. New villains like Catwoman and the Archer failed to reignite excitement, and by the third season, Batman was averaging 34th place in the ratings. Yet the show's legacy only grew stranger. In 1967, Adam West filmed a British road safety PSA as Batman, a clip that vanished for more than 50 years until it was rediscovered in 2018. Leslie Gore's song Maybe Now disappeared from reruns for reasons no one can explain. Commissioner Gordon's Batcave knockout scene was cut from syndication. Adam West himself was banned from Aspen, Colorado for 15 years after a wild party. And Bert Ward's autobiography claimed outrageous off-screen escapades while still in costume, stories Adam West later denied. Even the villains had quirks. Cesar Romero refused to shave his mustache, simply painting over it with white Joker makeup. Harlan Ellison's Two-Face script, pitched with Clint Eastwood in mind, sat in storage for decades before being adapted into a 2014 comic. The iconic Batboat cost so much to film with that it was locked away in storage for only a handful of appearances. And then came the death blow. NBC showed interest in reviving Batman for a fourth season, but by then, the Batcave and other sets had already been bulldozed. Rebuilding them would have cost millions in today's money, and NBC walked away. Spin-offs like Batgirl and Robin's solo show were scrapped, and the dream of a DC TV universe in the 1960s was gone overnight. In the end, the 1960s Batman series burnt bright and fast, leaving behind a trail of unforgettable moments, wild rumors, and lost treasures. Its influence on pop culture is undeniable. Campy, colorful, and endlessly quotable, it's a show that remains frozen in time as much a piece of television history as it is a mirror of the decade's wild creative spirit. And if you loved this deep dive into Batman's hidden history, don't just vanish into the Batcave. Subscribe to Hollywood Bulletin, hit the like button, and smash that bell icon so you never miss another jaw-dropping Hollywood story. Because here, the truth is always more unbelievable than fiction.